Welcome, Utah wrestling fans. This is going to be a great show tonight. I'm Brian Priest. I'm alongside Jeff Newby, Nate O'Brien, and Cole Kelly, um, also known as the Nostradamus of American politics. Uh, and you follow him on Facebook. He's a Nostradamus. But anyway, we're going to be talking the Beehive Top 25 tonight. These are the top 25 ranked wrestlers, grades 9 through 12 in the high school scene. Uh, I'm not sure Jeff Newby's with us. He could tell us who puts the list together, if it's a solo act or where he gets information and feedback and whatever. And we'll go through the top 25, and we'll actually throw in some honorable mention. And this is just a great way to kick off the wrestling season tonight. Again, practice started Monday, so there's a lot of excitement in the air. And first matches will be Tuesday before Thanksgiving. Little small plug: Wrestling Against Cancer event will be Tuesday, November 22nd at Provo High. So just want to get that out there real quick. But Jeff, thank you for being with us tonight. And we got Nate and Cole here also to ask some questions and bring some input on the top 25. So Jeff, why don't you get us rolling?
Yeah, so the Beehive Top 25, we have a small committee that helps me put these together. Probably 6 to 8 guys that help me do this. Basically, we look at pound for pound, kind of like our youth big board. We had a podcast a few weeks back on a youth big board. It's very similar to the youth big board. We take into account off-season wrestling. We do take into account the main thing is in-season wrestling, though, and then some off-season obviously is mixed in there also. But we did do an honorable mention, 10, no particular order. This honorable mention, and then we'll get right into the top 25. So,
all right, let's start rolling with the honorable mention again. Now, before we go there, Jeff, we always say these are rankings. Wrestling especially, they don't mean really anything. It's great sports that's done on the mat. I mean, I guess there's a little prestige in that, but wrestlers outside the rankings, wrestlers outside the honorable mention circle, you can still get in there, prove yourself, go beat some of these guys, go beat them in big events, and you'll get on this committee's radar. And it doesn't mean if you're not on here that you can't take state or you can't do some great things in wrestling, right?
Right, yeah, of course. If you're not on here, you're lower than you think you should be, find someone above you and go beat them, or just keep winning. I mean, if you're winning, you're going to move up. That's the bottom line. So, honorable mention, we'll start again, no particular order for honorable mention. Riley Taylor, Box Elder 285, our one heavyweight that's on here. Right now, he's leading the way in the heavyweight side. You got Peyton Osborne, Payson. Last year, he was out with an injury, runner-up the year before. Dylan Torgerson, North Severe, 113. Cole Zorn, Pleasant Grove, 113. Ryan Hansen, Maple Mountain, 160-ish. Now, Ryan, as many know, he did not wrestle last year. He is in the room. So sources have confirmed he's been at practice this week. So he is wrestling. He's projected at about 160. Brady Lowry, Canyon View, 138, had an excellent offseason. Brady Polson, Delta, 120-ish. Garrett Ricks, Box Elder, 113. Derek Fisher, Pleasant Grove. Now, Derek, he participated in the Fall League, looked great. He is one that could move up into the top 25 very quickly. DJ Cohen, Wasatch, 195. Again, right on the bubble of getting in the top 25. So those are our honorable mention. So any questions on our honorable mention? Any thoughts there? Cole, Nate, Brian?
No, there's a lot of good wrestlers in that group right there. And and the beauty of rankings is that if you beat one of the guys on that list, you're going to move up the list. And so, issue the challenge that, hey, you want to be on that top 25, go beat somebody on the top 25. But those wrestlers there that you just mentioned, Jeff, all have the potential to beat somebody on that top 25 list. So You want to make the list? Go beat somebody.
Yeah, one couple of names that stand out, being a guy who follows 4A, DJ Cohen. Very impressed with him. Second in state last year, and got some great lineage. Jim Porter is his grandfather, and so he comes from that Porter family. And the Osborne kid from Payson, again missed last year with a knee injury. Great athlete, raw bone tough. He's definitely one that's on my radar to move in that top 25.
Yeah, and DJ Cohen, we have him projected to jump up. I think last year he was at 160, I think last year, and jumping up to 195, assuming he jumped up that far. Could be interesting to see how he handles that weight difference. So, Ryan Hansen, another one, being back could very easily. I mean, had he not been off last year, he would probably be starting, top 10, maybe even top 5. So, definitely there's some guys in that honorable mention. It'd be fun to watch, see how they do. So,
yeah, I'm glad you mentioned Hansen. He ought to be, do well this year for sure.
Right.
Okay, we're ready to roll with number 25.
Let's get in there. 25, North Summit, 195-pounder, Rand Pence. Rand Pence, 2-time state champ. North Summit, interesting team. They've got a very, very good team, varsity-wise. So, and we'll go through this list and we'll kind of see who else they have on their team. So, 24, Salem Hills, 170. Jackson, a 3-time runner-up. So his senior year.
Jeff, could you say that again? Because you were breaking up pretty bad when you were. So just went over with number 24.
24, Jackson Van Tassel, Salem Hills, 170. He'll be a senior this year. 3-time runner-up. Looking one last time to get that state title. So
also been very impressed with Jackson on the football field. He had a great year for Salem Hills, probably one of their 2 or 3 best players. Tough kid.
Yes. 23 from Uinta. He'll be around the 160 range. He was there last year, state champ, Tucker Tomlinson. Tucker and DJ had some good battles last year. We're thinking Tucker may stay down at 160 and get him in there at 23. 22 from Morgan High School, a 220-pounder, Chase Russell. Now, Chase, last year, he ended up winning state. He lost to Bear River Jordan Watson a few times, ended up beating him the last 2 times they wrestled, I do believe. But Chase had an excellent offseason. Fargo All-American, Utah Triple Crown winner. So because of those extra things, we gave him the 22 spot. It's hard to keep a Fargo All-American off the list.
I agree.
21 from Layton, projected at 126, Tanner Benedict. Now, Tanner had a good season last year, ended up losing in state finals. He was winning, got thrown. But, 21 I think is a good spot for him to start. But he is one to watch, could possibly move up. Number 20, another North Summit kid, 152, Tayton Ringel. So again, as we see, we already have 2 kids from North Summit on the list. Like I said, an interesting team to watch in the 2A division this year.
Okay, yeah. Let me break in here, Cole and Nate. Do you guys got any thoughts on those wrestlers from 20 to 25?
Well, Jeff mentioned the North Summit connection. It's kind of fun to watch. Nate and I have kind of gone the youth ranks for a number of years, and you're starting to see, Jackson Cole and his dad kind of started that club when Jackson was 4 or 5 years old, and you're starting to see the fruits of that start to come through that program. So, with Tayton Ringel, Jackson, the third name slipping my mind, and I don't have it in front of me, guys, but
Rand Pence.
Yeah, yeah. Pence is, it's fun to watch those kids. They've been good for a long time, and now they're getting the recognition at the high school level.
Nate,
Yeah. So I had a chance this summer to go with the cadets back to cadet duels, and Chase Trussell really impressed me. He is about as freaky as an athlete that size as there probably is in the state. I would put him, buddy, his size with his athleticism. Guy, I don't probably has a huge future in college wrestling, but I think he could play Division I football if he keeps putting on some size with his athleticism. And then Tucker Tomlinson, he's super tough, but at 160 might be one of the toughest weight classes in the state this year.
Looks like
160 will be very tough. So it will be, and in the 4A, it could be very tough even. So it'll be definitely. It'll be interesting to see if Tucker stayed at 160 or if he'll be at 170 come season time. Because I mean, as we move up this list, I mean, we've already mentioned Ryan Hansen will probably be at 160. We'll get a couple more 160 pounders in the 4A, already. So it'll be definitely interesting to see where Tucker ends up. Whether he's at 160 or 170.
Hey, can you run through those? Just the names real quick. Well, what year in school are they?
Yeah, we got Rand Pence, senior, Jackson Van Tassel, senior, Tucker Tomlinson, a senior, Chase Trussell, a junior, Tanner Benedict, a senior, and then Tate Ringel, a junior.
Okay, so pair of juniors and the rest are seniors.
Right.
We got a kind of an experienced lot right there. All right, so let's break down, so maybe 19 through 15, and talk about those guys.
Okay, so I'll run through 19 through 15 real quick. 19 from Pleasant Grove, he could be 220, 285. I'm not for sure exactly what Pleasant Grove was playing. Number 18 from Olympus, a sophomore at 152. Again, he could be 152, he could be 45. Isaac Wilcox. 17 from
Jeff. Who was number 19 again? You were breaking up.
19 from Pleasant Grove, a senior, 220. Brandon Clausen.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
18 Isaac Wilcox. Number 17 from Kearns, 120 pounder, most likely Brandon Michael. 16 from Maple Mountain, a junior. Again, this not for sure. 160, 170. Is my guess. Ryan Hansen will be in there also. Brandon Van Tassel. Number 15 from Payson, a senior, 195, Chase Lovelace. So kind of going back through that list real quick. 19, Brandon Clausen. We all know he has one of the best head throws to come out of Utah. I mean, it's phenomenal. And everyone knows it's coming, but no one can stop it at those weights. So he's going to pin 80% of his kids that he wrestled this year, maybe even more. Who knows? Isaac Wilcox, he just keeps getting better, strong, fast, great double leg. Brandon Michael, state champ, lost last year to Zach Kohler in the semis, came third. Van Tassel, runner-up last year. And then Chase Lovelace. Chase at 195 is interesting. He'll have some tough ones. Rand Pence will be at 195. Ashton Seeley will be at 195. Now, Chase and Ashton wrestled 3 times last year that I know of. Every time they wrestled, it got closer. The third time they wrestled was a 1-point match. Second time they wrestled was a 2-point match. The first time they wrestled, it was like a 6-point match or something like that. Maybe it was 6-3-1. But it'll be fun to watch that battle again because it looks like they may both be at 195. So there's your. Go ahead.
And then you mentioned DJ Cohen right there in that weight. So
right,
pretty interesting in the 4A.
Yeah, definitely. In 4A, you have Chase Lovelace and DJ Cohen, which could battle it out, and that'll be a good one.
Okay, Cole, and why don't you talk about these guys? What you think? And
Well, you know what? I'll pass, Brian.
You pass. Okay, cool.
I'm looking down the list right now, but I mean, gosh, I feel like a broken record, but I love Utah wrestling. I love these are good kids.
They are tough.
What's that?
That list is that grouping is so impressive to me.
Right. I mean, Brandon Van Tassel and Disher battled it out all year last year, went back and forth. So, Brandon Michael, I mean, he's a kid that has come through the ranks and done a lot of good things. So Isaac Wilcox is a kid that we've had the privilege of watching, from 7th grade on, and as Jeff mentioned there, he's just got some solid fundamentals that he's fun to watch, and so it's fun. Brandon Clausen, I mean, I'm a big fan of the Clausen family. It's a good family, and just love seeing another Clausen come through the ranks. So good group. And the Lovelace, I mean, anytime you mention the name Lovelace and Pace, and that's a family tradition there. And so another Lovelace coming through the ranks. Fun to see.
That's actually Johnny's boy. Johnny's been the youth and junior high coach for Pace. What's your thoughts, Nate, on that grouping of 5?
I'm really familiar with Isaac Wilcox and Brandon Michael and Brandon Van Tassel. Me personally, I probably would have had Isaac Wilcox probably higher, but then again, I don't really dive with some of the high school, non-verbal or non-written rules. Some of these kids on this list, I don't know if I'd even have them on the list, but that's just because I watch a lot of other kids wrestle all spring and stuff, and a lot of these kids on this list don't wrestle spring and Fargo and that kind of stuff, and so in my mind they go lower on the rankings because they don't do that. But I know this is high school, so I have to try and take my biases out on that.
Well, it's a hard one because you have, a lot of kids. There's certain kids that wrestle in spring and do very well, and then the high school season they don't perform. And then you have the other kids the other way around where they go in the spring season and they don't perform. They do really poorly, and then the season they step it up, and then you have kids like Nate said that don't rest. It doesn't when doing these rankings because you look at, with these being in-season high school rankings, the spring season, the out of season, they do play into it. There's no doubt about that, but it's hard to keep that, keep them separate, so to say. It's difficult when doing these rankings to keep those separate and not take those into account. And I think you got to take those into account to a degree. But, we got to be careful.
I think you take them into account, but I don't think you punish a kid for not competing in those things.
Right.
I think you've got kids that play other sports, and you don't punish kids for playing other sports. If kids playing baseball in spring. I think that's awesome. I want to see wrestlers out there doing other good things in other sports. I mean, Brian mentioned the Van Tassel kid that's doing great things for Salem Hills on the football field, and I like seeing them succeed in other areas in athletics. And so a kid that's out on the baseball field in the spring and he's not on the mat in the spring, I don't see that he's penalized for doing that.
I think like with Chase Lovelace, I think he's actually a 3-sport athlete. I know he's does the football and the baseball, I believe, in the spring. And I coached as an assistant coach Jeff Holtry of West. I'm sure you guys know him or heard of him. And All-American in 2 sports, football and wrestling, all-state in 4 sports. In the spring, he did baseball and track. And then he actually won the Dapper Dan and was first-team All-American at heavyweight. So, But I also realize I kind of know where Nate's coming from. You take Fargo, to me, is like, the ultimate event, right? For toughness. You go out and all there and place there. That's a lot. But I would also say, like, these kids probably value a state championship more in the high school season versus a state championship in the freestyle wrestling season. I think, the pressure of wrestling for your colors, for your school, for your community, and performing, under that kind of bright light atmosphere, it has to count for something. But we also know at the same time that something like Fargo is, the marquee event with the best competition and so forth. And so I guess it's a tough balance that you guys have as the committee to rank these individual wrestlers.
It is. I mean, even fall league is tough because you have a very few of these guys wrestle in the fall league. I mean, you have, Derek Fisher, I'll take him for an example. He showed up to fall league and he looked great. Like if I'm going on fall league, he's top 25. And I expect him to get top 25 by the end of the year, mid-season or so. But again, we have to go back. He looked great in fall league, and all these kids wrestle in season, try and take that bias out, and that's why he ended up on the honorable mention. Chase Trussell, if we went off just his in-season stuff, he probably wouldn't be top 25 because he lost to Wyatt Ekblad, he lost to Jordan Watson 3 times, but because he ended up winning state, he ended up winning Triple Crown, he ended up being a Fargo All-American. His off-season stuff helped him get to start with in the top 25. And but I agree, it's hard. It's a difficult balance, to take a kid like, Chase Lovelace who doesn't do the off-season, but he's very, very tough. And there's some other kids on here that are getting up even higher that don't wrestle in the off-season, but they're just so tough in season that there's no way we can deny them, a spot in the top 25 or even top 10. I mean, there's kids in the top 10 that do not wrestle off season. So definitely a tough balance for sure.
And it sounds like Nate, if I'm guessing right, you're pretty high on that Trussell kid. I think you like him, and Isaac, I guess. Maybe thinking they should be ranked a little higher in your opinion. Here I am stirring up the conversation.
Honestly, I think Chase Trussell's about where I put him. I would maybe put Isaac a few spots higher. But I also, Brandon Van Tassel, I think he would have been a lot higher if he would have stayed healthy. My gosh, that kid has had more injuries. I feel so bad for him because he is a horse for all injuries. And, I think had he not had so many injuries, I think he would have been for sure top 10. But
yeah, no, I agree on Van Tassel. I think the injuries have hurt him. I agree. If he hasn't been getting hurt every season pretty much, I agree. I think he's much higher than 16 right now.
Yeah, well, said all this stuff comes out in the wash, and Ren has to go out there and win, and everything will take care of itself. All right, let's talk about the grouping 14 through 10. Well, let's go 14 through 11. Then I'd like.
Okay. Sounds good. 14, we have from Wasatch, a sophomore, 132, Zach Kohler. Number 13 from our first and only 1A wrestler from Monticello, junior, Zach Musselman. He's going to be 138, 132. Zach Kohler could possibly be 138 as well. Number 12 from Layton High School, a sophomore, 120, Terrell Bearclough. And then number 11 from Wasatch again, 145, a senior, Corbin Smith. A couple things about these guys, and then we can turn it over to Cole and Nate. Zach Kohler, he had a solid season, but I think what most people remember about him is his unbelievable state tournament, beating Brandon Michael, beating Braden Parker, 2-time state champ. And that gets him in the top 15 at number 14. Zach Musselman, if he's at 32, he's going to be very, very, very difficult to handle at 32. You know, he lost, but he's gonna be tough. He get down to 32, 38. He'll still be really tough. 12, Trail Bear Clough, state champion last year. He won the Rumble, 7th at Reno. He's a sophomore. Again, I think he's our 3rd sophomore on the list. Super tough. Number 11, Corbin Smith. He beat Musselman last year. Camp again. You know, another tough Wasatch kid. So Wasatch keeps putting him on the list.
Again, another grandson of Jim Porter, and I think first cousin of DJ Cohen. So again, a very tough wrestling family.
Yep, definitely.
Brian, do you have a pedigree chart of the Porter family in your wall?
I love the Porter family, even though Jim and my dad were fierce rivals before my dad became a fierce rival with your high school coach, Cole.
Yeah.
The Porters have been very nice to me, and
I'm just giving you a hard time, but
love to plug their family any chance I get. I'm not ashamed to say it. Love Porters. So, what do you think about that?
One thing I'll say about that list. So 2 sophomores right there, in that 11 through 15 spot. And Jeff mentioned in another podcast, and I'll bring this up, that he doesn't put freshmen on this list. Is that accurate, Jeff? Have you ever had?
The only freshman we've ever started on the list that I'm aware of is Brock Hardy.
Okay. So he did start on, and he had wins against guys that were on the list, though. I think is
right. He had. I mean, for a freshman to start on this list, very rare. You've got to be a special kid, and like I said, as of right now, the only kid I've ever started on the list is Brock Hardy, and you've got to be Brock caliber to start on this list. I think freshmen will get on the list. I think there's freshmen out there that can.
Well, yeah. And that's. I mean, you got 3 sophomores is all you've got here though on the list, right?
Right.
I mean, it's hard for a sophomore to make this list. So you got 2 right there in your 11 through 15 with Bearclaw and Kohler, who both had outstanding freshman seasons and are gonna have a chance to be 4-time state champions.
Yeah. And so basically 3 sophomores from 18 up. Sophomores is tough to be on. Freshmen, it's even tougher. So, and we'll hope, maybe we'll see some more sophomores climb on the list, but for a sophomore to start on the list, it's still very difficult.
Okay, now let's take 10 through 6.
Okay, 10 through 6.
Well,
number 10.
Well, before you go, Nate, you got any thoughts real quick on that grouping there?
I'm really very familiar with Zach Kohler, Corbin Smith, and Zach Musselman and Trail Bear Clough. My son has wrestled, Zach and Trail a ton of over the years, and being up here in Wasatch, I've seen Corbin wrestle a lot, and I've traveled a lot around the country with Zach Musselman. So, I would say all of them probably deserve to move up, but I don't know who on the top 10 I would move out. So that top 14 is loaded.
Well, I think like with Musselman, very impressive athlete. Sometimes being down in Monticello, during the high school season, will he get to, besides coming up maybe for the Rumble, the type of competition to push him? To me, out of those grouping, I'd maybe say he's the best overall athlete. Again, probably doing 2 or 3 sports in Monticello and jumping in and doing a lot of the off-season work too. And but Corbin and that he's going to be very pushed in that room. With Nate's boy and Kohler and all those Wasatch guys. That's like a war in that room, and competition every day. That's gotta be good for those Wasatch boys, in my opinion.
Yeah,
they just Side note, I think Zach is going to go 32 from what I'm hearing.
Zach Musselman?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I've heard too. I've heard Musselman will be at 32.
He'll wrestle, but mostly 32.
Right. He's going to be tough to handle at 32. So.
And that's for their team's lineup, not because he really wants to. It just, I think they have have 2 or 3 kids there at that weight, and they don't have anybody at that 32 weight.
Got it.
So that's kind of some things going on in 1A when you're trying to fill out your team for a push for the state title.
Yeah.
Okay, so sorry for it was great to – well, let's go on. 10 through 7.
Okay, number 10.
10 through 6.
From Logan High School, senior, probably be 132, Ranger Keckler. Number 9, from Bingham High School, projected at 170, Cole Moody, a junior. Number 8, from Harriman, a junior, 145, Logan Jensen. Number 7, from Payson, a senior, 145, Jed Lovelace. And number 6, from Wasatch, a senior, 182, Richie Haywood. So again, going down that list, Ranger Keckler.
Wow.
So Ranger Keckler has a win over Corbin Smith, All-Stars. That's why we got him over Smith. Smith had a win over Musselman. That's why he's over Musselman. Number 9, Cole Moody. Solid season last year, state champion. He's going to be tough at 170. We could see him against, Jackson Van Tassel, maybe Tucker Tomlinson. He'll have some matches there. 140 or number 8, 145 Logan Jensen. Now Logan and Isaac actually wrestled in Fall League. For those that don't follow Fall League, Logan beat him by like a point. It was a super good match. Isaac was actually leading the majority of that match. And then Logan came back and turned him in the third period to win.
I heard they met out at Fargo. Maybe once or twice out at Fargo?
They met in Fargo, I think both styles actually. And I think in the consolation side, each of them All-American in one style, and they're the one that beat each other out, I think, if I remember right.
Wow.
So I mean, like Nate said, Isaac could very well be much higher than he is at 18. I mean, him and Logan Jensen, number 8, are super close. 7, Jed Lovelace. I mean, he's. I think the Lovelace. Everyone knows the Lovelaces. Last year Jed beat Corbin Smith. Super tough kid. Number 6,
and he's Chris Lovelace's boy.
Yes.
First cousin with Chase.
Number 6, Richie Haywood, state champ last year. Year before that, came second to his brother, and I think he was Reno. Was he finalist in Reno? I think maybe came second or something like that.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Anyway, our 6 through 10 right there.
All right, let's hear from Nate. Then we'll hear from Cole. Go ahead, Nate. What do you thought?
I would like to see Zach Kohler versus Ranger Keckler, maybe an all-star match. Ranger's a solid wrestler. I've watched him beat Cameron Hunsaker. Cole Moody is another tremendous athlete. And Logan Jensen, I've watched him wrestle a bunch. And, of course, Richie Haywood. Richie's just an animal.
Yeah, what impresses me a little bit from that grouping is there's some different styles there. Always with Ranger, he seems like he's tough, he's aggressive, he's out there. And Moody, he's to me kind of a technocrat. He's the technique is just awesome with him, and just so smooth, and a lot like Brock Hardy in my opinion. Okay, what do you think, Cole?
Well, I'll mention Nate mentioned the other, so I'll mention at number 7, Jed Lovelace, and I had a chance to be in his corner a couple times with his dad, and kind of an unconventional wrestler, has really good funk and really good counter wrestling and scrambling. But Jed's he's a talented kid and great attitude, tough kid. So
very tough on the mat.
He is on top. Yeah. So
like he stood up there and went after Lamont, and wasn't afraid to battle Taylor last year. And I talked to Jed and told him I commended him, on his willingness to get into a scrap, and he went out there to win. And I thought that was very impressive about him to me.
So, and he comes from a program with a coach that I've got kind of a place in my heart for. So I kind of like that coach over at Payson High.
Yeah, me too. It's not the love. Okay, now let's top 5 here. Let's maybe slow down and do 5, 4, and 3.
Okay, number 5 from Wasatch, a senior 160, Jacob Disher. So again, we talked about kind of Van Tassel and Disher had some great battles last year. Disher, good off season, and we expect big things out of him. So number 4 from North Summit. North Summit's 3rd on the list, projected 126, Jackson Cole. He'll be a senior going for his 4th state title. And number 3 from Juab, 195, senior, Ashton Seeley, Fargo All-American. Had a solid season, but really, again, it's one of those things off season. How much do you weigh in the off season? And Fargo All-American junior division, we gave him the number 3. So that's our 3 through 5.
Don't know what to say about those guys other than wow.
Correct. Yeah. Jacob Disher is one that I really like to see because, and I'm a personal plug, but he reminds me a lot of my own son, and I'm hoping my own son continues to follow in the footsteps of Jacob, in the sense that he wasn't a child superstar. He didn't have a ton of success at the youth level. He had a little bit of success at the junior high level, but every single year from the age of 6 to the age of now 16, 17, he gets better and better and better and better. And I've loved watching the progress and the improvement of Jacob Disher from a youth wrestler to now a senior in high school.
So you're coming from a coach's father perspective, and again, I come from a son of a wrestling coach, and I think we could both relate to Jacob's experience and your boy's experience, Cole. Sometimes you just got to decide whether you really love the sport or not, and Dad wants you out there doing it, and you got to just kind of figure it out, and once you do, like Jacob has, and hopefully you'll see with Zeke and Tig, with your boys, I think then you kind of like take off, and I think that's happened with Jacob. It sounds like when I was talking with Wade that he's just said, "Hey, I really, really do love wrestling, and I want to be the best." And
right.
Let's see that happening with him.
So,
what do you think, Nate, of that trio?
I agree with Cole, especially with Jacob Disher. I mean, my same thoughts are, I watched him. He wasn't, like Cole said, he wasn't a childhood superstar. He wasn't all of that. He slowly, every year, has gotten better and better and better. And he puts in the work. He works hard. And even from last year, his junior year, to this year, how much more work he's put in the off season. And kind of going into a senior year, you really see the leadership that he's developing now. And kind of, I think this is going to be his team this year up here in Wasatch. I think along with Richie Haywood, I think those two, Jake and Richie, that's what be really impressed with Jake, is just his progression, because it's so easy to quit when you don't have instant success and your dad's a coach, and you just think, hey, I should just show up here and be good. And it's really good, I think, for other kids to look up saying, hey, I don't have to be a 7-time super state kid champion to go wrestle in college, because I think Jake's going to be an outstanding college wrestler. Jackson Cole, he's the opposite. He's been a phenom since day one, and won just about everything out there. And and then you've got Ashton Seeley, and Ashton's just he reminds me of or Chase Trussell reminds me of Ashton Seeley. Ashton's kind of the older version, but just both freak athletes, really super talented. Yeah, I agree with Ashton Seeley.
Yeah, I think Ashton, he had a great football season. I actually watched a couple of some of his games on that live stream, and wow, he's just real impressive. One other thing I wanted to say about the Disher, I think having some success, taking state, I think did a lot for him and just has catapulted him to another level. I just wondered what your thoughts on that were.
Oh, for sure. You saw the kind of the light bulb go on, like, hey, I can do it. I did it. He had, I think his freshman year, I think he finished, I know he placed, it was, 5th or 6th. And then, last year, or what was it, sophomore year, didn't he have Brock Hardy? So, then this last year's junior year, he wins state. That was a tough match that he had in the finals. And then I think, like you said, it just springboarded him with a lot more confidence. And you're going to see it this year. I think he has a chance to move up on the list.
Yeah, I think, be interesting with Jackson Cole with his pedigree. I mean, I know everybody knows who's going to be number one on this list, but, can he push it, and really get some consideration for maybe going up a notch? Because I really think very highly of Jackson Cole as well.
Well, competing well at national level tournaments, I think, can do that for you. I mean, because you're not going to see Jackson go head to head with anybody that's above him. Just weight differential's too much. But if he goes out to Reno and does well there, if he
does well at the Rumble,
yeah, he does well at the Rumble. If he competes well at national level tournaments, I think that you can start to make that argument. Okay, and then
let's talk about the number 2. We'll separate 2 and 1 here, and we'll drum roll. Here we go, number 2.
Number 2, from Morgan High School, a senior, 182, Owen Pence. Now, Owen had a phenomenal offseason. He went into Fargo, on the national level, an unknown almost, and kind of shocked everybody by getting into the finals. And he had the opportunity to win it. I mean, Fargo runner-up. Now he's kind of, he's on the radar now. He's getting colleges recruiting him. I mean, it's just, overnight pretty much he went from, obviously a great wrestler, but overnight from, being a star. So, Owen Pence, he gets our number 2. And again, the offseason had a big factor in that one. So,
yeah, there's great matchups possibilities with him and Richie Haywood, or geez, I don't know if he weighs enough to go up and maybe wrestle Ashton in the All-Star duel. Is a little bit too much weight there, but boy, I'd love to see that one.
I mean, you got Owen Pence at 182. You got possible All-Stars Richie Haywood. That would right now would be the first and foremost. And you got Cole Moody at 170. Maybe bump him up and do an all-star match there with Owen Pence at 182, depending on if Cole's a big 70 or not, or if Owen's a small 82. Definitely some options there for 182, in the all-star match. There's tons of all-star. Another one, Jackson Cole at 26. I would love to put Jackson Cole up against Ranger Keckler at 32, Musselman at 32, and do kind of a feature match there too. There's some great options all-star match-wise. And,
Cole versus Cole. Kohler versus Cole there, maybe too.
Right, I mean. So
keep an eye on that Stockton O'Brien kid too.
There might be a couple freshmen break through this list for sure.
Yeah. Okay. So no big secret who number 1 is. And I don't know how you could argue, but go ahead, Jeff. in case anybody out there listening to this is dense.
My home school, Box Elder.
Jeff, you broke up there. You want to go again?
Start over with you.
Yeah, saying number one from my home school, Box Elder, 152 pounder, Mr. Brock Hardy. So I don't think there's any
Box Elder, homie, come on, dude. Just no, we're just kidding out there, okay?
Well, granted, I could have some bias here. He's from my home school, and that's probably why we bumped him up to number one.
The purple power.
But
nothing to do with his All-American status.
Right. I mean, again, I don't. In all honesty, there's no question. I mean, everybody knows Brock's number one right now, and it's going to take a lot to take him down from number one. He's one of the best to come through Utah. I mean, he's phenomenal. So, anyways,
he makes it look so easy. He reminds me a lot of Jason Chamberlain that way. You get these guys that they always look quick and darting and stuff like that, and he is quick, but he makes it look so easy and smooth, and he does remind me of Chamberlain that way. And who knows, maybe he'll go into the NCAAs, go into college, and surpass some of Jason's accomplishments. But that's who he reminds me of a little bit. He doesn't remind me so much of like a Taylor Lamont. I think he's a little bit different. He kind of reminds me of Chamberlain. So I just wonder what your thoughts were on that.
Yeah, I think the difference between Taylor and Brock, for example, is Taylor's a goer. He's aggressive. He grinds and he goes and goes and goes. And of course, to be at the level that you're at, that a guy like Taylor Lamont is at, you've obviously got to have solid technique and solid fundamentals. But Brock he's a little more smooth, I guess you could say, and he's a lot more fun to watch in the sense that, like Brian mentioned, seems to make it look easy. His movements seems so natural that it's fun to watch, and generally, I mean, anybody that's been in the sport knows it's not easy. But yeah, I mean, there's just a skill level there that's just fun to watch if you understand the sport and recognize the techniques.
Well, and what are your thoughts, Nate?
I've had the chance to travel to Iowa with Brock Hardy. Probably the last 5 or 6 years now. It seems like forever. It's a long trip too, so that even makes it even longer. But yeah, like Cole said, I'll talk about chain wrestling. That kid moves from one move to the other quick. And I know for my son, sometimes Brock frustrates the heck out of him because he's always like, "Dad, I can never be that good." Or, he looks up to Brock and is like, "Oh my gosh, how does he get out of those moves?" Or, someone will put Brock in trouble, and it's only for a split second, and somehow he maneuvers his way out of it and comes up on top. And it's just, I can't tell you how many times I had like, did I really see that, or did that really happen? Definitely.
Well, I think too, Jeff, the All-Star Committee is going to have a heck of a time trying to line somebody up with him to even remotely look competitive. I mean, it's kind of one of those guys when you get that, once in a world talent there. And I think you're seeing the weight around Brock Hardy and 4A get just simply loaded. You got these guys, they want to be a state champion, and I know probably isn't going to happen if they're in Brock's weight. And then I don't know, Brock looking at 152. Is that where we're at, Jeff?
Yeah, we're looking at 152 for Brock. So yeah, it's going to be tough to get a good all-star match for him. And so, but we'll figure it out. We'll get someone out there.
Yeah, I mean, there's some tough guys that will go battle him, and and that's like I said. One thing going back to Jed Lovelace, I just appreciated with him is like, yeah, I'll go wrestle Taylor Lamont, and I appreciated it out of Cameron Hunsaker last year. I mentioned before in a previous podcast that he went after Taylor, and I encourage you guys, they're choosing, maybe get somebody that's aggressive. And you got guys that are aggressive and more aggressive than other wrestlers, but somebody who somewhere in their heart, their deep heart, thinks they can actually go out and get it done against him, and I think you'll provide the best entertaining match possible. And I enjoyed, like I said, Cameron going out there and wrestling Lamont and making some great attacks, and Taylor countered with some even better counter wrestling, but. It was a fun match to watch, and so I think it's possible to get an entertaining match. To beat a Brock Hardy, obviously that's going to be a huge challenge for anyone.
Yep.
Hey,
so
just a quick thing, Steph. Just looking over this top 25, 12, so almost half are all 4 kids. That just shows you how loaded 4A is.
Yeah, no, 4A is tough. I mean, and looking at team wise, Wasatch has 4 kids, and the surprising thing is North Summit has the second most kids on this list with 3. So I mean, a
Morgan with 2.
Morgan with 2. So yeah, I mean, 4A is loaded this year. Wasatch is loaded this year. And then you got North Summit right behind him, though, with 3 guys on the list. And so, yeah.
Now, you might
good things.
What's interesting is that, there's only, one Pleasant Grove wrestler on it?
Yeah. In the top 25, yeah.
Right.
And how many Maple Mountain? 2?
1 Maple Mountain.
Top 25, yeah.
Okay, so, yeah, Hanson's outside the top 25, right?
Yeah, you had a couple that were 26 through 35 from Pleasant Grove, and yeah, one more from Maple Mountain that was 26 through 35 as well.
I mean, obviously, now are we going to do the team rankings another time, Jeff? Is that the?
Yeah, so we actually have started on our team rankings already. We're hoping, in 2 weeks to have those out. Or sooner, we'll see. But yeah, we're always working on more.
Okay, now you know how I used to do the super rankings 1 through 6, 1 through 8. We're going to be doing those, right?
Yeah. So if you remember when we did, I think we did them with our youth big board.
Yeah.
That podcast.
That's going to be a regular part of the WrestleUtah.com.
Yep. So those are out right now. They're out 1 through 6, regardless of class. We have the 1A classification rankings are out. The classification rankings are done by coaches. They just, to do 5 different classifications, and next year to do 6 different classifications is just too much. It's a ton. So we need, as soon as our coaches can get those in, we'll get those posted, and then Beehive top 25s in, youth big board out with another one after, not this Saturday, but after next Saturday, we'll come out with a new youth big board. Beehive top 25 teams will come out, before Thanksgiving sometime. And then we'll, after probably the first week of December, we'll come out with a new Beehive top 25 and a new individual power rankings as well.
Kind of stir up the coals right before the All-Star selections. And
that's right.
Now, real quick, let's kind of make it quick. Any potential All-Star matchups there that that we haven't addressed that you see in the cards there?
I particularly get excited about getting kids to wrestle that aren't the same weights, because to be honest, most of these kids that are the same weights, they'll see each other at the Rumble or somewhere. So to be honest, I like trying to cross weights and get matchups that we won't see throughout the year. It's hard, because you're trying to convince a kid to move up a weight. and wrestle someone bigger and put it all on the line. It makes it fun though.
Jacob Armstrong, Wyatt Coley, that's one of them.
Right, and the fans love it. Everyone loves it, and we feature it. So I mean, obviously Owen Pence, Richie Haywood, 182, Ashton Seeley, you got Chase Lovelace, Rand Pence, DJ Cohen, some good possibilities there. Jackson Cole, I'd really like to move him up to 32 and have him wrestle like a Keckler or Zach Kohler or a Musselman. My vote would be Musselman, but Keckler would be fun too. And the reason I say Musselman, I just styles. Musselman's super strong. That would be a fun one for me. Disher at 160. Love to see him against Cole Moody. Whether they wrestle at 60 or 70, that would be a fun one. But Loveless, Logan Jensen, Loveless and Brock Hardy have never actually wrestled before, so I would actually like to see that happen. Since it's never happened before. Logan Jensen, Isaac Wilcox is a good one. Corbin Smith is in there again somewhere at 45. Let's see, going down the list. Brandon Michael and Terrell Bearclough at 20. Brandon at 220 against Chase Russell, 220. Stay out of the head throw.
Yeah, that'll be.
I don't know. We'll see.
Interesting.
So those are a couple of them. Jackson Van Tassel at 170. He's tough. And him and Moody would be a fun one even to see.
Yeah.
See if Van Tassel can move up the rankings at all or not. And so that would be a good one even.
Moody probably has the experience, a little bit more of the pedigree or whatever. But Van Tassel just raw bone tough. He's not going to back down from anybody.
And here's another one, Ryan Hampson. By the time selections are taken, we'll see what kind of shape Ryan's in, taking a year off, and where he lays. 160. You could also have a Brandon Van Tassel, because Brandon Van Tassel and Ryan Hampson can't both go 160 for Maple Mountain. The feeling I get is one might be up at 170, one may be at 52. I don't know. But if one of those guys are at 170, that could be a good one with Van Tassel, Jackson Van Tassel versus Brandon Van Tassel. There's got to be some kind of relation there, right? It could be a family war.
They're cousins. I think Brandon's Brian's son, and I think Jackson's Don's boy.
Right, yeah. But that could be we could start a family feud there, and that could be a fun one. Or Brandon Van Tassel versus Cole Moody. That would be a good one. I think they actually wrestled when they were in junior high in the All-Stars too, so that could be Hansen versus a Jackson Van Tassel, or Ryan Hansen versus a Cole Moody. So there's lots of options, and as kind of things get going, we'll maybe come on a podcast and do some more All-Star talk for sure.
Yeah, well, it's not never too early, and let's close out the show, and probably got our day jobs to get ready for. So next week, Jeff, do you know what we're rolling with next week again?
So next week will be we're gonna be having, I think, Craig Lamont, Billy Cox, Jade Rouser on. We're talking girls wrestling, and also Team Utah that's going to Idaho. Our elementary team's going to Idaho this weekend, so we talk a little bit how they did. So that's kind of what's on tap for next week. Okay, sounds good. And wrestling season's upon us, and boys are out there practicing, and it's going to be a great year. So, Cole, Jeff, Nate, thank you for being with us tonight. And wrestling fans, we'll tune in next week. We'll have another great show. Sounds good. Thanks. Okay, thank you, guys. Thanks. Signing off.